Giulio Mazarino was born on July 14, 1602 in Pescina in the Abruzzo province of Italy to Pietro Mazarino and Ortensia Buffalini. The Mazarino family was of Genoese origin. Mazarin's grandfather, Giulio, had moved from Genoa to Sicily and settled in Palermo as a private citizen. His two sons, Mazarin's uncle Hieronimo and the cardinal's father Pietro Mazarino, were therefore born in Sicily. The family's relative success in trade made it possible for Mazarin's father to receive a decent education. At the age of 14, Pietro was sent to Rome to complete his studies with letters of recommendation for Filippo Colonna, who was the constable of the Kingdom of Naples. Pietro entered Colonna's service, although it is not clear in what capacity. It was as a member of the Colonna family that Pietro Mazarino was able to socially advance. Through his skillful and prudent conduct, Pietro was betrothed to Ortensia Buffalini in 1600. Ortensia was the goddaughter of Filippo Colonna, and she belonged to a noble but penniless family from Città di Castello in Umbria. Although little is known about Mazarin's childhood, it is suggested that he was a gifted boy. His intellectual ease became apparent at a very early age. At the age of 7, the little Giulio Mazarino entered the Jesuit college in Rome. Being a brilliant student, Mazarino gave a public lecture on theories explaining Halley's comet, which appeared that year. Mazarin grew up with the children of the Colonna family, which enabled him to frequent the houses of great nobles, although he was not a part of their scene. It seems that from his adolescence, Mazarin developed a passion for gambling and women. His father disapproved of his developing gambling habits and decided to send him abroad. Mazarin went to Spain, where he completed his studies of civil and canon law. During his stay in Spain, he gained a perfect command of Spanish, which would prove to be very useful throughout his career. When Mazarin agreed to marry the daughter of a notary to whom the still gambling-addicted Mazarin owed money, he was ordered to return to Rome by his father. Upon his return to Rome, Mazarin completed his studies, after which he entered the service of the Pope, and in 1622 he joined the pontifical army. In diplomatic circles, he was noticed for his role as mediator on behalf of the Pope in the Mantuan War of Succession. In 1630, Mazarin met the Cardinal de Richelieu in Lyon. Richelieu hired Mazarin as a French diplomatic agent in Italy. The result of Mazarin's first diplomatic efforts resulted in the Treaty of Cherasco, which very much pleased Richelieu and Louis XIII. Mazarin went on to become a cleric in 1632. In 1634, Mazarin arrived in the papal city-state of Avignon as a vice-legate. From 1634 to 1636, he was apostolic nuncio to Paris, and in 1641 he received the rank of cardinal. It was not until 1639 that he officially entered into the service of France. His strong diplomatic reputation and his charm quickly made him popular with the French King Louis XIII. In 1642, on his deathbed, Richelieu recommended Mazarin to the French king as his successor as prime minister. When Louis XIII died himself 1 year later, Mazarin made himself indispensable to the regent Anne of Austria. Historians question the exact nature of Mazarin and Anne of Austria's relationship. Letters exchanged between them are sometimes very sentimental, although it was the style of the time to write with great emotion. Their relationship was in any case very close. It was no doubt strengthened by both their political isolation during the Fronde. Whether Mazarin and Anne of Austria actually loved each other is a matter of debate. Some have analyzed their correspondence in such a way that they believe they could detect an affair or even a secret marriage between the cardinal and the dowager queen. All of this is, however, not historically proven. His possible paternity of Louis XIV, as historians have argued, is now proven to be inaccurate due to genetic analysis. Mazarin continued Richelieu's foreign policy during the 30 Years' War, which led to the Peace of Westphalia. However, the oppressive taxes raised by Mazarin in order to fund the war culminated into the Fronde. Twice, from February to December 1651 and from August 1652 to February 3, 1653, Mazarin had to leave the country, but from Brûle Castle, near Cologne, he still directed French politics. He managed to cause divide between the Frondists and to restore order after his return from Cologne, after which his political powers were almost limitless. In the meantime, the cardinal educated the young King Louis XIV in politics. He taught him to be suspicious of every subject and to sacrifice everything for the interest of the state, even his family. He persuaded the king to marry the Infanta Maria Teresa of Spain and break with Mazarin's own niece, Maria Mancini, with whom the young Louis was in love. Spain's inability to pay Maria Teresa's promised dowry was used as a pretext for a new conflict, the War of Devolution, in which the Spanish Netherlands became occupied by France. With time, Mazarin's health declined. Although Mazarin wasn't able to walk at the end of his life, he had lost nothing of his intelligence, his subtlety, his patience, his ability to follow 10 plots at the same time, or to write or dictate 40 letters a day. The astonishing vitality of his mind overcame the miseries of his body and kept Mazarin able-minded until his last days in March 1661. Faced with numerous rumors about the illegal acquisition of his fortune, Mazarin had a notary come to his bed on March 3, 1661, and dictated his will, in which he acknowledged that all his possessions, coming from Louis XIV, should be returned to the latter. However, the king, after several days of reflection, refused this testimonial donation, not being able to accept the humiliation of such a gift from one of his subjects. Mazarin foresaw this refusal and registered a new will on March 6, 1661, in which he bequeathed the greater part of his fortune to his niece Hortense Mancini and her husband, the Duc de la Meilleraye, who was a nephew of Richelieu. In addition, Mazarin bequeathed diamonds to the king, the Sancy, and 18 diamonds which now bear his name, the Mazarins. Cardinal Jules Mazarin died on March 9, 1661. Following in the footsteps of his predecessor, Cardinal de Richelieu, Mazarin requested to be buried at the Sorbonne in the chapel of the Collège des Quatre Nations. His remains were placed in a temporary vault in the chapel of the Château de Vincennes before being transported with great pomp and circumstance on September 6, 1684. Although Mazarin was outwardly a likable man, he was extremely greedy. During his life, he amassed an astronomical fortune in not always legal ways. He left a legacy of a pacified Europe after the end of the Franco-Spanish War and the First Northern War, as well as a kingdom of France enlarged by the treaties of Westphalia and the Pyrenees. Mazarin's greatest accomplishment, however, lies in the consolidation of absolutism in France. Thank you for watching.